and welcome to the Hooked on Needles Craftcast. My name is Maricela, or Mari if you prefer. Today is December 10th, 2019, and this is episode 46. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I have been good and also a little let down by myself because I have been working pretty hard, but it's been in vain, I think, because I've had to rip out a couple of things, and so I will get to share that with you this episode. I do have a few things that are done that I get to share, and the rest we'll see. So let's start off with finished objects. And they are a pair of socks from Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. These are her Peter socks. I don't know if you can see the pattern in there. It's very subtle. But I really enjoyed working on these, and her patterns tend to be quite easy to remember or to memorize, and so you kind of just go and the socks just fly off your needles. And then my son wanted me to make something for his teacher for Christmas, and he requested something blue because that's her favorite color. And so I saw that I had some Madeleine Taj in a lovely blue, and so I decided to make her a hat. And this is the Rocky Ridge hat by Willow Lott. And look at it, it's so pretty. I love the detail. It's very, it's quite an easy pattern, but I love the effect that it has. And then I just put a pom-pom from the ones that I ordered a few years ago. I really do hope she likes it. And yeah, like I said, this was with some Madeleine Taj. It was a DK weight, and I love it. My other finished object is a just 1x1 rib beanie, because my daughter is doing a gift exchange at school, and the person or like a Secret Santa. And so the person that she got requested a beanie, and so I did a plain 1x1 because we had gone to the store and a plain 1x1 beanie was like 20 bucks, and I was like, I can make that, and I already have the yarn. Then you can buy something else for that person. I think it's a girl that she got, one of her friends, and so I was like, don't worry, I'll just make it for you. And I loved making it. I did kind of a weird decreasing because I wanted to keep the pattern of 1x1. So I just divided it into 4 sections. I cast on 96 stitches, did a 1x1 rib, and then when it came time to decrease, I knit 2 together and then purled 2 together to keep the sequence. And so it kind of looks a little weird, but oddly enough, I like it. Pretty good, right? I really do hope her friend likes it. Oh my gosh, I always end up with such an itchy nose. Okay, whenever I'm recording, that's what happens. And then we're spending Christmas with my sisters, and so I wanted to make something small to give everyone, because we're also doing like a Secret Santa thing, and so I just wanted like something small to give everyone. So a lot of little ornament videos have been popping up on my feed on YouTube, and I have been clicking on some of them. So the first one is this cute little little stocking. This is from a channel called Aoyama Crochet. I have mentioned her before. She has Spanish videos, but they usually have English subtitles, so you should be able to follow this one, which I will link all the stuff that I can. This one is a little mitten, and for this one I followed a Korean tutorial. So that one does not have subtitles, but I was just watching what she was doing and I did it. So hopefully you will too. And then this one is the hat, which I used, I did magic ring and crocheted 12 double crochets into the magic ring, increased to 24 in the second round, and then did 4 more rows of 24 double crochets, changed colors and did a single crochet row here, and then working for the last row, working on the front, in the front loop only, I did a half double crochet and ended up with this little brim area. And then I just sewed on some cute little snowflake buttons because I had ordered a pack of just like holiday buttons because my son likes to do his own little crafts and stuff, so he will randomly ask for weird shaped buttons, and I'm like, okay, here you go. So and then I just made little pom-poms using some cardboard, and yeah, so this one I just kind of made up myself, although there are quite a few videos out there on YouTube that you guys could definitely follow. And I made a red set and a green set. So I hope my family members like them. And that is all I have as finished objects. I do have a few works in progress, starting off with this is a work of love because I am not enjoying this whatsoever, which are gloves for my daughter. She wanted gloves, and I had said yes because last year I was hoping to make them mittens, and that just never happened. I found the ones I started for my son, and like the ones that I had made for my son, and all I needed to do was add the thumbs, and I haven't done that, so I need to do that because the cold weather is coming. And so my daughter was kind of saying that if I don't get to work on her gloves, the cold is going to be gone by the time I'm done with them. So yeah, with little nudges from her, I finally finished one, but I haven't done anything else on them, and I just don't really like them because of all of the tiny stitches here. It gets a little tedious, and I just don't like doing it. I used Tin Can Knit's World's Simplest Socks, or the World's Simplest Sock, not socks, I'm sorry, mittens. And then I just worked until about this area and then broke off for the fingers. And I am adding about stitch or two in between the fingers, like I'm picking up an extra stitch to make sure that it goes all the way around the fingers. But yeah, and to be honest, once I sit down and just don't think about the fact that I'm going to be using a whole bunch of tiny little double points, they do kind of knit up fast once I get to the fingers. So, and I'm using DK weight yarn, so I just should really get on it. And then I am also working on these lovely things, which are a pair of Scatterbee socks by Amy Stringer. These are made with the beautiful yarn that Yolanda sent to me from Happy Knits podcast. It's the Heart of Texas colorway, and I paired it with one of the minis that I got from when I went to SAF, and I think it works beautifully. I love the combination. I'm really happy with them. The only thing is that I'm not done with them yet, but I'm ready to be done with them. I have one and I have cast on the other. I was hoping to take these with me when we went to stay with my husband over the Thanksgiving break, because we went to stay with my husband for work. They have an apartment for him and stuff, and so we decided to go and stay with him so that he wouldn't have to worry about driving all the way out here, and especially because he was going to work for the half of the week, and then he was only off on Thursday. And so I was like, it just makes sense for us to go to you rather than you come to us. So we did that. And every time that we get ready to go somewhere, the first thing I pack is, of course, my knitting and my projects, because that's the important stuff. So I somehow forgot to take those socks with me, and so because of that, I started working on these, and those, like I said, just flew off. And there was other stuff I was working on, but I will talk to you about that later. And then I started the campsite shawl, but then realized that the yarn was not right for it, because I wanted it to be quite a good size, and so I found a skein of this lace weight yarn, and this one is from Daisy. I don't know if it's Daisy Yarns or Daisy Knits. I will write it down for you guys. This is the monkey toe colorway. It's lace weight, so there's over 800 yards in here. And I had paired it with this beautiful all natural wool in this lovely gray color. But like I said, I had started the camp shawl, and you really couldn't see the pattern in the because of the yarn mix. But I really liked the way it looked because it gave me this hand spun vibe. And because of that, I decided to cast on the One Row Hand Spun by Miss Stephanie Pearl McPhee. And here it is. I'm loving these colors. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It is 1 row repeat. You do the same thing the whole time. And I am using these size 8, or I believe it's a 4mm needle. And I got these straight needles from a friend of ours. When his grandmother passed away, he found a box of all of these knitting needles, and crochet hooks, and he gave them to me because he's like, well, I don't know anyone who's going to use them, and you will. And I was very grateful, and I have used them, and so here I am using them again and appreciating them. So I am very grateful to him for thinking of me when it came to that. And like I said, this is a super easy pattern. It's a, like I said, 1 row repeat. You can just do it whenever you don't really know what else to do, and put on a couple of rows on your scarf. I'm really enjoying working on the straights, I have to be honest. I had shown you guys a different scarf that I'm working on, and I'm using circulars for that one, but I'm not really liking how heavy it's getting on the cable when I'm knitting. So I want to I kind of want to order some straights. I think for that scarf I'm using 3.25 millimeter needles, maybe 3.5. And so I would I'm thinking about ordering the straight so that it's not so painful on my hands. And sorry, I decided to make a row and I messed up, even though I'm telling you it's so easy. Anyways, and I think I'm gonna wait for I guess around Christmas to see if I order me those straight needles, because I'm also hoping to make scarves for my cousins, my nephews, because that was a goal this year that just didn't happen. And so because of that, I really, really want to try and make scarves for them next year. And I love this. I love the look of this scarf, and so maybe they'll want it. Maybe one of them will like it. But if they don't, then I will gladly keep it, because like I said, I'm really loving the way that it's looking. They are quite bright colors, but I love it. And I do have another skein of the gray to continue, because there's a lot of that little lace yarn. And then I'm finally working on this lovely thing, which is called the Game of Tones shawl. Play on words for Game of Thrones, of course. Sorry, I always do this. See if it can focus. There we go. And this is a pattern by, sorry about the tapping, you guys. Is it focusing? There we go. That pattern is by Susan Ashcroft, and I am loving it. It is a mosaic style shawl, so you only work with one color at a time, even though it seems like you do way more than you actually do. It's a paid for pattern. I can tell you that it's an 8-row repeat, and it's not very difficult, but it's quite lovely. So I decided to start this because I had mentioned in the last episode, I'm sorry, before I jump to that, I am using this yarn that my sister brought for me from Mexico, and this says it's a mohair wool acrylic blend. And then this is just sock yarn from Blueprint, and I'm hoping that that color change will look nice together. I kind of was hoping to use a blue with that color, but it just did not work very well when I put them next to each other. So I went with black. And the reason I'm making this is because this is the shawl that will be going to my cousin in Mexico, whom I started to make this shawl from this book. This is the damsel shawl. But I started making it and I didn't like it. I was thinking, as it was working, I did not like the way it was coming out. So then I looked through this book again and found this one, which is called Cheyenne. And this is the shawl that I was hoping to then make. And I started it, made quite a bit of progress on it, and then I made a mistake in this last row. And as you can see, it is now off the needles. In this last row, I somehow forgot to add an increase, and so it was just not working. I tried to kind of go with it and was like, oh, I don't think I'll rip back, it should be fine. But then it just kept bugging me that I had messed up, and if I can't live with it, I need to rip back or undo it, you know. And so yeah, so I just was not liking the way it was coming out. I was really hoping that it was, with the color, it was gonna make the pattern stand out, and I just thought that it didn't work. So I took it off the needles, and I will be unraveling this. And yeah, but it's okay because she will be getting the Game of Tones. And also, I am not really too worried about when to finish these, because I had originally hoped to send them off whenever my brother-in-law was gonna go to Mexico. And so then I texted him one day and was like, hey, can you please let me know when you're leaving so I can see if I can have everything to you to take to our family members over there, because I wanted to send a couple of things. And he was like, he responded 2 hours later that he had just landed in Mexico. So I was like, oh, well, never mind. And then I also was thinking, like, why did I wait to ask him? Because I had seen them before Thanksgiving, which was before the last week of November. And I didn't think about asking him then, like, when he was leaving. And so when I did, he was gone. So because of that, though, I don't feel pressure of really knitting or having to finish things. The only thing really that I needed to make was the beanie, because, well, the beanie and the hat for the teacher, because that's stuff that my kids want to have or send out or give, whatever it was, whatever the correct term is. And that was it. And, you know, hats don't take very long. So I actually ended up making the little beanie for the friend in one go, like one afternoon. I actually made it yesterday. And, oh, I don't think I mentioned what yarn I used. I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby. In the previous episode, I had shown a different hat that I had made, like a super slouchy hat, for my sister's friend. And so the leftovers went into that, even though I did have to get a new skein to finish it off. But I think it works and I really like it. My daughter was worried that it was going to be too baggy, because she said that her friend mentioned she wanted like a tight fitting beanie, which is why I went with the 1x1 rib. And it is worsted weight, so it just went by so quick. and I hope it has enough stretch in there. I didn't want to put it on the little glass head because I didn't want to stretch it out for her. I want her to be able to feel the snugness of it, the tightness of it. And so, yeah. I think that's all I have to share with you guys. I did want to chat with you a little bit because one of my sisters requested a sweater vest, and I've made one sweater vest which I kind of just made up for my son when he was younger. And that didn't seem too difficult, but I also I don't know why I get so much more, like I get way more intimidated now, even though I should be a more confident knitter than I did way back when. Like I mentioned this before, like when I just kind of made the sweater for my nephew without a pattern or anything, like I didn't even think about it, I just did it. And the same thing with the vest for my son, like I just did it. And now that she's requested it, I'm like overthinking it, like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this or not? You know. And but anyway, so I mentioned my other sister that a vest had been requested, and she actually is the one that has all of my grandmother's, or most of my grandmother's, old knitting. And my grandmother was not a fussy lady. She just knit because she liked it. She ended up with getting diabetes, and so because of it, she ended up having to have one of her feet amputated, and she also had lost most of her sight, but she still somehow managed to knit every day. Especially because she was in a wheelchair most of the time, or you know, sitting somewhere, like she couldn't really move around. So knitting was her way of dealing with everything, and then also making us some lovely things to wear. And also she always used straight needles. I wish I could tell you that these were my grandmother's needles, but they're not. They're someone else's grandmother's needles. That's the type of needles she used, my grandmother, and I highly doubt that she ever used nice wool. I always saw her with acrylic. It was usually Red Heart Super Saver. Sorry, my my son got home from school. So anyway, as I was saying, my grandma did not have the most luxurious or top of the line equipment, but she did her best with what she had. And so because of this, because she used acrylic, her stuff is still being used. I'm sorry, I have like a sneeze that wants to come out but won't. Okay, sorry. But because of it, so my sister has sweater vests, and she gave me some of them to look at and hopefully find as a guide to me making one for my sister, my other sister. And so let me show you some of these. This one is actually my grandfather's vest, and he wore a sweater vest every day with a little hat, and it still smells like him. But yeah, so when I made the one for my son, I did a 1x1 rib here, and as you can see, she did a garter stitch edging, which I think is just really nice looking. And so my sister, the one that requested it, I'm making it out of acrylic so she doesn't have to worry about shrinking it or anything, because she shrunk a hat I made her in the episode. The last episode, I showed you guys a hat that I had made for her, and she shrunk it. So she will not be getting any wool from me ever again. It's all acrylic for her. But I I also feel like I'm partly to blame because I did not label it as, you know, special care, don't wash it in the washer and don't dry it in the dryer. So anyways, my brother-in-law got onto her and said, this is why you can't have nice things. But anyways, and so I am very grateful for my other sister giving me these to look through and to see how grandma made them. This one seems to have been knitted in the round, but I don't ever remember her. Oh no, it didn't. Oh, that's why. I'm such a dodo. I didn't see that it was opened up in the front. I was like, there's no seam in this side. How did she do this? She never had circular needles. Oh, I'm a dodo. Anyways, but yeah, and you can see, you know, where she decreased and all of that stuff. So they will definitely be a good template for me to follow. I am debating whether to knit it in the round or to seam it. Like I said, my grandma's vision was not the best, and therefore her joining was not so great. She just wanted it to be on there, you know, so her seams are not immaculate or anything, which is fine because they served their purpose and kept us warm. And she never knitted from patterns. Oh, okay, this one. Yeah, this one's got seams on both sides. So you can see there. But yeah, so she always just made up her own pattern. And I believe this one and this one have the same pattern. So, and it's just, you know, a like a waffle stitch there. But yeah, and I so regret not ever getting into her brain and being able to, you know, pick at it and with information, because I'm pretty sure she had a lot of information that I would have appreciated now. And I get really sad with myself or upset with myself when I hear podcasters talk about how they've been knitting since they were kids and it's just a thing they've always done. And I'm like, I started crocheting when I was 23. I started knitting when I was like 26 or 27. I am now 33, and yeah, I just feel like a lot of time was wasted or missed opportunity with my grandma. But it is okay. I am learning now. And I also feel like I could have helped her, you know, because had I been willing to accept what she was going to teach me, I could have helped her with her cast on if she had trouble or whatever, because yeah, and she was always working on something. And I think that because I got to see her knitting, like she knit every single day, because I got to see that whenever I started with my fibery journey, I think that's what made it what made me feel okay with it, because there are people who of course make fun of you because that's a thing for grandmas, and you're like, no, it's not. It's something for whoever wants to pick up the needles or the hook and just do it, you know. So I think because I saw that it was a thing that you could do and it was fine, you know, me seeing grandma do it every day. I just didn't let people get in my head about it being a thing for grandmas. And yeah, so I'm very, very glad and thankful that I kind of kept going with it, thanks to seeing grandma every day. And yeah, so I'm really, really happy that I get to use her her vests as templates. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys this episode. I don't know if I'll be able to record before the end of the year, but in case I don't, I wish you all happy holidays, a very, very happy new year. I hope the next year is full of a lot of finished projects and new cast-ons, because it's always fun. I am hoping to make a list of things in my Ravelry library. I believe I did it last year as well, where I wanted to work from my library, because it does bother me that I buy all these patterns, and not to say that I have like a bunch of them, but when you are spending the money on a pattern to, one, either support the designer or because you want the item, but then it just sits there, it's kind of wasteful, and I don't really like it, speaking for me personally. The same thing with the yarn, like I've mentioned before, you know, when we buy yarn and it just sits there, like, me personally, it bugs me, and so I need to use it. So I am hoping to create a list of the things I really want to make from my library, and hopefully my goal is to make at least 6 of those patterns, just because you know, that patterns that I've never made before but I've bought, and then also give myself the liberty to, you know, use the patterns that I have made before, because like the scatter bee socks, that's a free pattern, and I've made like 4 or 5 pairs of those. So if you like it, you know, it's okay for you to use it over and over, but it's also nice if you work from the stuff you've never worked with before. So I'm really excited to do that. As of right now, that's really my biggest goal. I don't plan on casting on anything. I did end up ripping out my arboreal from the last episode, because like I mentioned, I don't think the colors were really going with my skin tone, and so I do need to cast that on again, because I do want to make that, but I'm not sure when, because as of right now I do feel like I have enough things to keep me occupied at the moment. I have finished unraveling that shawl now. And then we will see. So like I said, I really hope you guys have a great holiday and New Year, and we'll see you hasta la próxima.